Good evening, everybody. I hope you've all had a lovely, sunny, hot day, and welcome to our session on community service. We're going to have a couple of instructions, just simple instructions, before we start the actual session. Our presenter this evening is Norma Gamble. She'll introduce herself more fully, and she's asked that all of the questions that you may have are saved until the end of the session. So you can put your questions in the chat box. You'll see the question box, the chat box rather, at the bottom of your screen. Post your questions in there. We will accumulate them and we'll ask them all of Norma at the end of the meeting. You'll also have an opportunity, if we have time, to ask questions to Norma directly. So at the moment, though, throughout her presentation, you'll be muted. And at the Q&A session at the end, you will we'll unmute you if you have a question then live. Some people have asked how to see the full screen of the presentation. Go to the top of your gallery and choose speaker only view or speaker view so that your screen isn't obscured by all the pictures of the people who are in the room. And hopefully that's everything. Send me a chat message if you've got any further questions, and we'll hand over the meeting to Norma Gamble to speak about Community Service Unleashed. Go ahead, Norma.
Well, it's the year 1978, and you and I are in a meeting in the Philippines. We're at a Rotary meeting. Yes, you and me. We're at a meeting in the Philippines, and it's the Rotary Club of Mabalacat, and we're doing a makeup there. And somebody stands up, one of the members stands up, one Dr. Benny Santos stands up and he pitches his club. And he says, you know, I've been observing, I've been doing some research, and in the neighboring slum, there are children there with polio. You know, it is so simple for us to help. We can inoculate them against this crippling disease if we would only just go. I'm proposing this as a community service project. Well, we were pretty impressed, as were his members. And they were very enthusiastic and said, let's right on, let's go ahead. So on the Saturday following, they all traipsed down to the neighboring slum and they started to inoculate children against polio. Well, the demand was so great the next Saturday and the next Saturday that they eventually had to come back and ask for the students, the nursing students, to go along with them and help them. And Saturday after Saturday, they went and inoculated these children. Well, the demand became incredible, and this became such a successful community service project that it spilled over into neighboring communities, into neighboring districts, clubs, and eventually the whole of the Philippines was inoculating children against polio. Well, remember the year 1978, at the same time in Evanston, the Rotary International president, Clem Renouf, was looking at launching a new initiative called the 3H program. 3H, Health, Hunger, Humanity. And he was really excited about this. So he was talking to his colleagues and he said, at Evanston, and he said, you know, I'd love to pitch one particular project to highlight this 3H program at my conference this year. What do you think? They all agreed that it was a great idea, so he spread the word. He sent it out to Rotarians, to districts, to clubs, and he said, bring me your best community service projects. Well, amazingly, and not surprisingly, the Rotary Club of Mabalacat submitted their community service project. And as they say, the rest is history. I'm Norma Gamble. This is Community Service. We're doing the club leadership training module of our CLT, and it's May 2020, and we're doing it online because of the COVID crisis. But we're so pleased you're here. So a hearty, warm welcome to everyone. And yes, that includes you. All of you attending online, and also to those who will watch this recording later. We know how effective and appreciate the role that polio has played in Rotary and the world. And its profound importance, of course, has been highlighted and brought into sharp focus because of this COVID crisis now. And we are so, so close to ending this crippling disease of polio. So if this Polio Plus program was started by a community service project, I'm challenging you and all the clubs. What is brewing in your head for your next community service project? A little more about me. I've been in Rotary, as you can see, for a long, long time. But I want to highlight three of the most, to me, important projects that made me feel how absolutely thrilled I was to be a Rotarian. This was the first one here. I was with a local Rotary club and heard, and by the way, with all of these projects, I want to let you know, websites were not great in those days. So where did I get this information? I had to go to club leadership training. I had to go to district assembly. I had to go to district conferences. I had to go where Rotarians were congregating so that I would hear about these programs and be able to share information and gather information. So the first one was, of course, an international grant for an international project. And I found that my club didn't have an international project. Well, I was way back in the early 90s. But I was shocked. I thought, it's Rotary International. We don't have a project. So I asked around and I said, do you think if I can come up with a project, we can do it? They said, go ahead. So I had been at university. I'm South African, and I had been at university with someone who I knew her father had been the district governor in KwaZulu-Natal. And so I made contact with him. At this point, he'd long been a past district governor, and I made contact. And I said, Hayward, if we can do an international project with you, what is the need? And that's key when you're doing any kind of community service or international service project. Base it on need. And we have all sorts of documents, which I will share with you later, about finding the need, assessing your projects. Anyway, I said, what is the need? And he said, and you just have to look at those faces. He said, disadvantaged schools have no libraries. Do you think you could do it? Well, we proceeded to send container loads of books. We gathered money, and of course, this is the magic of Rotary. And at that time, this is how it worked. 5,000 from my club was matched by our district. That was matched by Rotary International, and that was matched by CEDA, Canadian International Development Agency. That was how it worked then. It works equally well now. It's the magic of the multiplier effect. I was blown away. $40,000? Do you know what that translates into rands? Anyway, we did this incredible project, and we did a group study exchange, bringing teachers here and sending teachers there. Eventually, this project morphed into an AIDS project with many of our clubs in our district, including Kitchener, Conestoga, and Kitchener. This was a fabulous project, and I loved it. This one here happened a few years later, and this is group study exchange. I, of course, was at a club leadership training or at a district conference or a district assembly, and I heard about group study exchange, and I was blown away. I said, I love that project. We're goodwill ambassadors, and we get sent to another country, and we learn another language as well. How amazing. Anyway, I applied. The first year I didn't get it. I thought of maybe I shouldn't apply, but I applied the next year, and fortunately, I was chosen as group study exchange leader. I had 4 team members, as you can see here, and we went, and these projects, 4 weeks to 6 weeks, we get sent to a different country, and we were sent to Austria and the Czech Republic. What's amazing about this, and it's fun, fellowship, and friendship, this group, all under 40, who were part of my team, and we're going on 25 years. We have been friends for a long time, and we meet every year without exception. We've even been on vacation together. So Rotary is incredible. It gives you so many opportunities for fellowship, friendship, and fun. The third one I want to highlight is 2 years ago, I was in Prague. And of course, another thing I learned through my contacts with Rotary, you go on and you find out what clubs meet in Prague. You find out this one is an international club. They speak English. How wonderful. I had planned only to do one makeup there. Well, because I was in Prague for a month, it turns out I did two makeups. I went to dinner with many of them. I went to special events with them. They became like family. So I encourage all of you, if you're going anywhere from Smiths Falls to Mexico, find out find out what clubs you can visit and do a makeup at that club. It's been amazing. As someone first told me when I first joined Rotary, it's the 3Fs, Norma: fun, fellowship, and, if you don't mind my poetic license, philanthropy. And truthfully, this was the opportunity I was given. So we connect for good. I joined Rotary because I wanted to be part of a group that had service above self as a motto, as their mantra. Why did you join Rotary? Generally, these will be the reasons given: to be of service. And more, we're getting to be of service in my own backyard. You know what? Community service is your own backyard. But it's to make new friends, connect with like-minded people, to network, yes, to network, and to have fun. And let's face it, we stay with Rotary for the same reasons. This is what makes us proud as Rotarians. Together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. What we're going to cover here is probably what we do at community service at our district level. And remember, the district is there to help clubs grow and, in fact, thrive. That's why you have a district team, and we're all doing presentations on one or the other aspect of our district. But this particular one, what I want to cover is who we are, what we do, what our district focuses on, and then where we're going to go in the future, because let's face it, COVID-19 is giving us challenges that we've not had before. So if that's okay with you, that's what I'm going to cover. So the district team, as I said, is there to help you grow, to help you thrive, and we're there in every way, every possible way to support you. So every year we get together and we review our district goals. What were our goals? Well, to research, develop, and articulate a viable direction, to facilitate. Now, pay attention to the verbs here. Facilitate, that comes from the French word facile, to make it easy. And your district is there to make it easy for you, whether it's understanding foundation, understanding PR and communication, whether it's understanding international or understanding community service. So we're there to facilitate, support, help, educate, encourage, and celebrate. Yes, celebrate you and your club's successes. We want to hear about it. We want to connect with you in your club chairs. I haven't been as successful doing that because community service has, in case you didn't know it, is actually a new addition to the district leadership team, and how privileged I am to be leading it in its initial stages. But more and more, I want to hear from community service chairs, because I know, we all know, you're doing phenomenal projects out there, and I want to find out about them. We want to create a dynamic presence on our district website, and this is critical. Websites, I have found, it's like a gold mine. And if you only have to go onto websites to find the gold. The last thing is to create an interactive database for all of our community service projects. And here I'm asking you for help. We've got a fabulous team at district who are starting to put this together, but I think we can do with some help, especially from younger members, because they have all of the social, ability, the technology to do a bang-up job. So this is what we pretty well focus on. But let's do a quick review of our websites. I said that there's gold there, and I promise you, you'll find the gold if you go to your websites. First one, I have this up all the time, Rotary.org. Wow, this is a terrific website. If you look at the higher level of tabs, you'll see Club Finder. That's where I go to find out where the clubs are. Then I find out who the president or the membership or the communication person is. I email them and I develop a relationship before I ever get there. Use it. It's gold. It's dynamite. Extreme right, you'll see for members. Now, so many people forget to even go here. But if you don't go there, you won't come out at myrotary.org. This is for you. Look at what they've got on the screen. They've got updates on COVID. They've got hacking a solution. Now, that's our Rotary, hacking solutions. We move fast. We respond quickly. This is terrific. We get a message from our president, international president, and we get reminded of the virtual conference coming up. But if you go to the third tab on the second level, you'll see learning and references. Oh my gosh, I promise you, if you go here, you will be amazed at what you will find. Tonight's learning is only part of what Rotary does at district and at international. Here you'll have access to an amazing mountain of information. Oh, then it's our district website. And I just want to acknowledge Darren Sweeney here. He keeps it going brilliantly. Darren, thank you for helping me. You do a great job. So many people work behind the scenes at Rotary and they don't get the credit that is due. Tonight I want to credit everyone who plays a role to make something like this happen for you and a website like this happen for you as well. What's great about this website is if you go to the third, and I've highlighted it, tab, projects, there's a drop-down menu, and the drop-down menu will give you projects, community, and international. I want you to go to community, and voila, you'll come to our landing page. Here, the tabs are on the left-hand side of the page, and you can go down. You can scroll down here forever because we have so much information. It's valuable information. We want you to go there. We want you to participate, and we want you to give us feedback. So we have community service. You'll see, I want to be of service is their why. I don't know if any of you have seen Simon Sinek's TED video on finding your why. We have it on here. There, you have access to it. Find it. It's wonderful. So community service, we have more about community service for community service chairs, and then we go to life cycle of a project. This is amazing. This is what you'll find on the Rotary Learning section as well. You have to use this when you're doing a project. Now, many of you have used it, and many of you do projects very effectively, but if this can make you more effective, why not use it? It helps you plan and organize. It helps you implement. It helps you access resources. It helps you evaluate and promote. And of course, it'll ensure your success. Next one is community assessment tools, another one of those gems from the Learning Center at RI. We can't do, and we shouldn't do community service projects or international service projects without this, because the community assessment tool will give you a complete breakdown of where and what you should be doing. So this is an incredible tool. I suggest you have a look for it. Of course, we didn't need it because COVID-19 sprung on us, and there was no time to be doing assessments, and we didn't need to because we knew immediately what the needs were. Rotary's in the enviable position of being able to respond and mobilize quickly, and we did. We did in our clubs, we did in our clusters, we did it in Rotary all over the world. Relevance. We had to be relevant. It was a snap decision. Certainly, we looked in Oakville, at the cluster in Oakville, we looked at PPE, personal protection equipment, we looked at food, we looked at education, and we looked at bandwidth for those who didn't have it. So immediately, what is relevant? We were able to pivot quickly. Now, what's interesting is this is what countries need to be doing. And we are seeing countries that are doing this extremely well. And we're seeing this in countries that are not doing that well. Being able to pivot. The Oakville West Club said, we have to pivot. We've got money set aside for international projects. Phew, immediately we're going to focus on our community service projects. And so they did. What is interesting, and I want to bring your attention to it, I read about 2 countries that were doing it. First of all, well, Pakistan, Imran Khan, the Prime Minister, great cricketer if you're a cricket fan, he was helping workers who'd been laid off. And I'm going to read some of this by giving them jobs planting trees. And it's part of his Pakistan's 10 billion tree tsunami program. It's an ambitious forest restoration program and provides a template, listen to this, for the type of green recovery that countries can embark upon in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic. We're looking for new solutions because when we come out of this, we have to look at things with new eyes. So Pakistan managed to pivot, and immediately he started employing unemployed workers. They don't make much money, but it's enough to feed them and their families. So he immediately brought them into the tree planting project, and they planted trees. Another example was in the US, and I was amazed at this. West Virginia. These were Appalachian coal miners, and you know the controversy surrounding that. But these poor people were out of jobs. And the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective, I love it. They went and they said, we can train displaced coal miners in how to keep bees. How wonderful. There's green recovery in that as well. So we needed to be able to pivot. And then one of the other things we learned to do very quickly when the pandemic hit us was the power of teams, the power of clusters. And of course, our district governor, Leslie Barmania, had introduced us to cluster power when she decided to have her presentations to clubs or her visits to clubs in clusters. What a fabulous idea that was. For the first time, we got together with our colleagues, our local clubs, and we reconnected or connect for the first time, and great friendships have flourished as a result. So the cluster power was enormous. I know that many clusters in our district have worked together, many clubs have worked together, but I can only speak about the Oakville cluster. And let me tell you about the Oakville cluster, because immediately, with the encouragement of Leslie Barmania and the incredible leadership of our Assistant Governor, Bent Fink Jensen, he immediately brought us together, the presidents and key people from the clubs. And the 4 clubs in Oakville got together on a Zoom meeting, and we said, okay, what do we want to do? How can we respond to this? And one of the things, and something that took precedence, was to create a COVID-19 relief response fund, the Oakville Relief Response Fund. And we immediately put that together with money from each of the clubs. We put out a press release. How? Because, well, I'll tell you about that in a minute, but immediately we got onto this, and we got donations coming in as well. But we got that team together, and the first donations were made by that group. But then they said, wait a minute, shouldn't it be our community service chairs? They, after all, get requests. They know more about where the money should be going than us. And so they asked the community service chairs to get together, with a few of the presidents staying on because they wanted to. And that group together has made further donations. When they made the donations, they said, we need press. We need media releases. So we started a PR or communication cluster. And so these clusters have been working. And the PR cluster has made a fabulous video that is going to be shown tomorrow night at the President's meeting. If you miss it, I hope you catch it afterwards, because it's wonderful. But these clusters got together and have just been amazing. And I doubt very much whether we will stop meeting. Post-COVID. What are the questions pertaining to post-COVID? Well, what do we want our world to look like? What do we want Rotary to look like? What do we want our district to look like? What do we want to look like after this? Do we really want to go back to a new normal or even an old normal? No. There are new opportunities emerging, and we have to stay nimble and quick to develop them. And that's going to be one of the challenges we face tonight. It was a challenge that was made by our founder, our hero and mentor, Paul Harris. He said, and I've even given you the quotation, it's from this Rotarian age, and I've even given you the page. This is a changing world, and Rotary must be prepared to change with it. The story of Rotary will be written over and over again. How proud he would be of us. Okay, let's go back to that. Focus for our district. On our website, on the landing page of community service, you'll see this. Focus of District 7080. Now, when we put this together, we had no idea that the COVID crisis would happen. But we started looking at where we should be going, like social innovation. What is social innovation? When we put this together almost at the same time, John Hugo, who's our RI General Secretary or CEO of Rotary, was putting together a video, and you can watch it right here on our website. And if you haven't watched it, I beg you, watch it. It's brilliant. And he talks about social innovation. What are the new ways we can do things? High impact collaboration. What are we talking about there? Well, Polio Plus was our greatest example. And in fact, I even give a link there to show you who these high impact collaborators were. Bill Gates, for instance. And that's how we're going to have to move forward. Who else do we need to be collaborating with to accomplish what Rotary, and perhaps only Rotary, can accomplish? New sources of funding. I'm talking to clubs all over who have had to cancel their fundraisers, and most of them have been major fundraisers. Where are we going to get our funds? Well, they're great ideas on our website. And of course, using your Rotary grants, we have to. District has district grants. We need to start using them. Could we be partnering with corporations? Yes. Could we be sourcing government sites? Yes. There are new ways of us moving forward. And then new sources of projects. And yeah, we are going to need new sources of projects. We are going to be looking for new ways in which to deal with post-COVID necessities. Spark Ontario is one that we gave. I'm exhausted. Are you as well? Do you need a break? I'm going to give you a break. I'm going to take you to 10 fun facts. I want you to look them over and let me see you on video so that I can see your faces, if you don't mind. Go through them. Okay, I think I've given you enough time. Did you check to see whether there was a number 5? I'm sorry to do that to you, but we had to have a break there. The final one, do you agree with me? Community service rocks. I promise you, it rocks, but you don't have to take my word for it. Even Einstein says it rocks. So, moving forward, in 780, we need to stay relevant. What do I mean by that? Well, relevant, dictionary says appropriate to the current time, period, or circumstances of contemporary interest. We are in COVID time, and we're going to come out of COVID time, but it's going to be different for us. Maybe this is a dress rehearsal, because some people say, well, if you think COVID is a crisis, wait until you see climate change. So maybe this is a dress rehearsal for us, and maybe we need to be looking at projects pertaining to that. We want to continue with our district focus, social innovation, high impact collaboration, new sources of funding, and new sources of projects. We want to promote district grants, and here I pray, if you haven't seen the foundation presentation, go and see it. Find out as much as you can. We have a fabulous foundation team led by PDG Norm Binden. They will answer questions over and over again, and they do so much work to make sure that we can complete the projects, either international or locally. So go on there, and here's a tip. If you're a club that wants to do grants, you're going to have to do your MOU, your memorandum, every single year, and you're going to have to have some of your members do training. In fact, why not have all of your members do the training on foundation? Because it's complicated, And so you need to spend time understanding it and then asking questions and going back and doing it again. But do that. And what's fascinating at community service is that we've even got a grant proposal writing team to support you. Go to our website under community service and find that. Linda Moore from Orangeville leads this, and she is doing wonders at district. So we want to continue with that. We want to continue with think tanks. Think tanks was an interesting introduction. These are social imperatives in any community, and I had spoken with Paul Bourne of the Tamarack Institute, another high impact collaborator. They are a social innovation hub, and they're out of Waterloo University. And I speak to Paul on a continuing basis. He said, and I'll tell you in a minute what he said, but you can go to think tanks on our website, and right below think tanks is our think tank presentation, Social Innovation Works. This is a fairly lengthy presentation, but it explains where we're going and why we're going in that direction. Under think tanks, you'll see, and this is where I spoke to Paul, and I said, what are the three most critical things we need to focus on as a community? And he said, Norma, there are two things. The opioid crisis, nobody realizes how bad it is, and we need as much help as we can get around it. And he said the other one is social isolation. And heaven knows, with the COVID crisis, we're realizing that this is going to be a really important one. So we started think tanks on all of these, and we've got many of them meeting. The climate crisis is definitely one I mentioned, and Rotary International is looking at where to position it. Is it one of our 6 areas of focus, or does it have prominence even greater than that? So all of these, and then the social isolation one is an interesting one. The group happened to meet recently on Zoom, and aren't they a jolly bunch? They look great. And we were planning at that event this particular presentation, Maintaining Your Mental Well-Being During Uncertain Times. This was hosted by a lead educator with the Canadian Mental Health Association in the Peel-Dufferin area, Tammy Whelan, and it was well received by those who came. Sadly, there weren't enough people on there. And then the last one is affordable housing, and this is one of my special loves, my passions, especially affordable housing for seniors. And I don't know if you've seen the reports, but heaven knows, do we need better options than warehousing seniors? We need to do a better job, and maybe Rotary has a role to play there. So, moving forward, stay relevant, continue, promote district grants, think tanks, and cluster power. I've mentioned cluster power, and I cannot emphasize it enough. I'm coming for you, community service chairs. I want to connect with you, and I'd love to connect with you in clusters, but also in a bigger group as well. I need to speak to you. I need you to speak to me. Tell me what you're doing. Tell me what you need. We're there to help you. So, community service chairs, my information is going to be at the bottom, my contact information. Contact me, please. I want to speak with you. Online project fairs, we're going to be working on that, and we're looking for help. And then your ideas, and believe you me, your ideas are always the best ideas. They've always been the best ideas. They'll continue to be the best ideas. So we are looking for those ideas. Please, please send them to us. So, what are we looking at here? Rotary will thrive, potentially. We'll continue to find meaning in our lives, and club membership will soar. All of the three things we absolutely need. As we embrace the new emerging opportunities, we'll grow our capacity to achieve our social commitment, maybe even our social contract of service above self. We'll enhance the Rotary narrative with inspiring themes each year introduced by each RI president. This year, of course, Mark Maloney did Rotary Connects the World, and next year, I'm looking forward to Holger Knack's Rotary Opens Opportunity. You know, what's interesting is that I'm proud to be a Rotarian. I know you're proud to be a Rotarian, and I know that Paul Harris would be pretty proud of us as well. One of the quotes that I love of his is, "The grandeur of Rotary must be in the days to come. I think he foresaw this. I hope he did. I think he'd be proud of us. Thank you very much. Here's my contact details, and I really, really appreciate this. Not sure, Patricia, if we have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or maybe even hear from some people at this point, giving us some input.
Before we start the question and answer time, if people do have questions, I want to make sure that we thank you properly, Norma, for your enthusiasm and your dynamic presentation. What a great job. And especially in light of our current situation, your information was so up to date, addressing our current community service needs with the pandemic at the moment. You serve our district so well, and we appreciate you very much. Thank you for this presentation. A mention to everybody, the presentation has been recorded, and you can go back to the District 7080 website, and this is accessible also to our guests who are with us this evening from District 7090. If you look under committees and training, you will find the replay of this evening's presentation. Probably not for a day or two. It takes Darren a little bit to process it, but it will be available for replay, and all of the resources on there. So again, thank you, Norma. And we do have some questions coming in. I will, from Dave Loveland, from my club, Burlington Lakeshore, how often should projects be reviewed to determine their relevance?
Thank you for asking that question, Dave. That's a very interesting question, and I think that many clubs suffer from fatigue. A lot of our projects are probably due for shelving, and we need to look at some new projects. You know, Rotarians can help build those vibrant, stronger, and more sustainable communities. And we need to look at that. We need to build the social fabric of inspiration, social innovation, and social imperatives. We don't realize our own strength as Rotarians. We don't realize that we have such influence. And if we work with the key people in our communities, I think we can identify new projects. We certainly are. We get our energy from action, and let's face it, we're people of action. And our communities are going to start relying on us. So yeah, I think it's good to review the relevance of our projects and maybe shelve some of them, or perhaps look at injecting new, fresher ideas or fresher blood. Sometimes it just takes a new group of people to take over that project. But thank you for that question, Dave. Good one.
We just have some compliments rolling in, Norma, for your very informative presentation. Oh, and another question from Sheila Wellham. What is a typical community service budget?
Oh, I didn't do any finances here. It depends on the club, I guess. If a club does substantial fundraising, they have more money to spend, and usually they'll allocate it to international and local. And within that, it'll be youth, it'll be indigenous, it'll be, and each club decides where they're going to spend it. What is a typical budget? I would love this group to just feed that information to us, and maybe we can get it out. Maybe we can make a note of that, Patricia, and get that out. Maybe that's a poll, for clubs. What is your community service budget? Some new clubs that are forming, and the Passport Club, of which I'm a member, we don't do fundraising. So we do hands-on projects. So it's very difficult for us to have any kind of budget for our community service projects. But by virtue of the grace of the other 3 Oakville clubs, we've been brought into that community, and we're working as a cluster. Thank you for that question. Hopefully we'll get back to you with an average. That's a good thing to look for. Yeah.
If anybody would like to speak directly with Norma, please raise your hand. If you click at the bottom of your screen to raise your hand, we can unmute you and you can ask Norma a question directly, put it in the chat box, whichever you would prefer.
I would love that, Patricia. Thank you very much for facilitating this.
You're
You're
so welcome.
facile, making it easy.
A question from Robert Galloway. Our club is dependent on bingo, which is on hold because of the pandemic. Could other people or could anybody share some new fundraising projects starting up because of the pandemic? We're not operating normally, obviously, so it's a good question.
It's a very good question. I know one of the projects that one of the Oakville clubs is doing is bottle collection. They're collecting bottles, dropping them off, and I think they're making a couple of $1,000s in each of their forays into the community. It's another way of getting the community aware of who you are. And people say, yeah, pick up the bottles, I'll put them on my porch. And they're picking up bottles and collecting them. So more power to them, the Oakville Trafalgar Club, for doing that. But I'd love for more clubs to share with us new and inventive ways to deal with this crisis and how they can get their fundraising back on track.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's going to be a question for a while. Mary Brady, who's the president of Burlington North Club, he asks, what is part of the assessment of a project? We are doing virtual cooking classes, for example.
Oh, download the assessment document, and what you'll do is go through the process of speaking to certain people in the community, finding out whether your project will fit the need of the community. And I think we're going to have to do that more and more. And I think there are going to be new opportunities for us to do it. It's interesting that you talk about food, Mary. We in Oakville, the Oakville cluster gave money to the two major food banks in Oakville. And we learned, as I spoke to them, I learned that there are over 100 organizations in the Halton region distributing food. So it could be a meals for kids, it could be an art project where they feed kids. But they're suffering because there's no consolidation and there's no direction for the future. So is there an opportunity for us? In speaking to those food banks, we also found out that one of the major concerns of every food bank is food security and sustainability. Where is the food going to come from? We import. I mean, if I go to my fridge, or I go to my fridge or my produce container, most are imported. What are we doing to maintain the food security within our community? Maybe there's a project there for us. Another one was, of course, the mental health issue and social isolation. And as we see people coming out of hospitals, and these are hospital workers, we think that there are going to be some major mental issues where they need support. This could be a Rotary initiative where we actually provide support for them because they're going to need it. One of the other things I read today was this pandemic is going to make 66 million extra children. These are not children who are in poverty already. Going to make 66 million extra children live in poverty in the future. This is staggering. How can we impact that not only internationally but even in our own backyard? Because in many of our communities, and Oakville is one, where we don't think people are homeless or people need food banks. Yes, they do. So where can we be creative in how we move forward? I'm sorry, Mary, I probably went in a circle there, but hopefully
Mary's only other comment was that the cooking class is a fundraiser more so than a project, but
I love it.
And here's a note from somebody saying the Bowmanville Rotary Club raised over $7,000 from a bottle drive last weekend, just in response to your comments about, taking off on a different angle.
Yeah, well, good for the Oakville Trafalgar Club getting in on the bottle drive first, because that's certainly substantial funding for some clubs.
Yeah. And a comment from Martina Fern. I'm sorry, Martina, I don't know which club you represent, but she says she works for the Niagara Hospice and they're starting a new fundraiser, online trivia. So that's a great project. The service is completely handled by a supplier, and hospice receives 50% of the proceeds. It might be a fun option for other Rotary clubs too.
Exactly. Oh, that's great. And certainly clubs that got in on sewing masks, the ones that got in early and had fun masks or did something that was timely, they certainly did some good fundraising as well. And it was on donation, based on a donation. So people can be very generous when you make a donation. It's a kind of pay it forward idea. And maybe
Mhm.
be looking at things like that.
Just a quick note to anybody who's logged into this session on their phone. You can use *9 to raise your hand if you have a question you'd like to ask Norma directly. And it seems like that's all that's coming in, Norma. So
It looks as if we're going to.
yeah, please remember that the session has been recorded and you can access it, watch it as many times as you want, share it with fellow members of your club or send them a link to it. And if you've got any questions after the session is over, you can see Norma's contact information. You can see my contact information on the training part of the website. Feel free to reach out, and lots of thank yous coming in, Norma. So thank you so much again for a great presentation.
My pleasure to everyone. Thank you for being here. I really feel honored and privileged that you would join us. And my thanks to Patricia and to Sandhya and to Darren and to Clarence. Thank you, Clarence. You've done a great job of letting people in and out. It's been my pleasure and privilege being with you tonight. And I hope that we can get together face to face soon. But know that the grandeur of Rotary must be in the days to come. And we're part of that. So let's look to the future. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Have a great evening.